Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
This episode is brought to you by United Airlines. When you want to make the most of your vacation, book with United. They're an airline that cares about your travels as much as you do. United is transforming the flying experience with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to help fit everyone's bag. And with their app, you can skip the bag check line, get live updates, and more. Change the way you fly. Book your next trip today at united.com.
Well, there's a party each and every year on Christmas Eve, where the fun and cocktail shrimp don't seem to end. Clark and Ralphie taking turns on the TV screen, laughing, singing, yelling with all of our friends. Well, it's Christmas, and everybody's gonna spread the holiday cheer. 'Cause it's Christmas. Whoa, oh, it's the best time of the year.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Matt.
So this one is your pick, but I mean, I probably pushed you a little bit just by reminding you, like, hey, dude, November 11th is the 30-year anniversary of the Santa Claus coming out.
That's absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Number one, that's wild. I don't want to think about that too much, so that we'll tuck that away. Happy 30th, Santa Claus.
Yeah.
We're not going to think about that from here on out. And the other thing was, I think you and I sat there and thought back to our years of heavy hitters, and we realized how many things we hadn't spoken about yet. I think last year we took care of Elf, and then this year we're taking care of the Santa Claus. And I'm going to be honest, man, I'm not going to bury the lead. This movie holds up.
It does.
This movie's real good. It's wild that they never made another one.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with the Santa Claus is, like, there's two major issues, I think, with Santa Claus, and neither of them affect the quality of this movie. But, like, between TV shows and sequels, there's never been anything even remotely as good as this first movie that they've been able to produce in this franchise. And B, like, the more you learn about kind of how shitty Tim Allen is, it's similar to watching, like, Home Improvement reruns, where it's like the scripts are still really good and the jokes are still really good, but you can still see those elements of Tim Allen-ism even in this, where it's like, so it's like there's definitely elements that put a damper on the viewing experience, but, like, the movie as a whole is still fucking solid.
It's so much fun, and I want to get the sequel talk out of the way, because I do just want to focus on this movie. But I feel like we can't discuss it unless we talk about the sequels just a little bit.
Yeah.
I will say I like the second one.
I would say that it literally the quality is a steady decline.
It really is.
Like, 2 isn't bad. 3 you thought was the worst, but then they made a TV series that made 3 seem great in comparison.
It's really wild, and I feel like we had this conversation when we talked about our favorite renditions of the North Pole. I feel like there is such a shift from subtlety in the first one. Not saying the North Pole was subtle, like, it's still colorful, it's still magical, but, like, I feel like when we moved into the Santa Claus 2, and then especially in the Santa Claus 3, where we're just never even leaving the North Pole.
Yeah.
At that point, I feel like it's a person with ADHD's wet dream.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, look at all this shit, and now we're playing football, and look at the fucking Northern Lights over here, and shit's colorful, and shit's flying, and there's fireworks, and I'm like, whoa, dude, like,
less
calm
is
down.
more on the North Pole, and I think that it's either this or Elf. I think that they're basically in contention for best North Pole, to my memory. like as I think back, and like that goes back into like films from the 30s and the Rankin and Bass stop motion movies and like everything that I can think of involving Santa Claus. Like, these are the two where I'm like, they get this magicalness. I will say that this, I think, is my favorite presentation of elves in the North Pole.
I would agree. I would agree.
I like this, like, casting children to play the elves, but giving them this, like, sage, like, 100-year-old mindset.
And
is
this
like
feels
the
like
correct way.
This feels like a real place.
Yeah.
Like,
I would take this
like
over. I guess what I'm trying to say with the elf stuff is I'll take this over when they cast a bunch of like little people to play elves, and they're kind of just like they like give them Munchkin voices, and like they do some like really fucked up shit in some of these movies.
You're literally
for elves.
just talking about Fred Claus. Like that's do you remember
no,
that shit?
I mean, I
when
do.
We had fucking DJ Ludacris as
but it's that
I hate that was weird.
Or even and this is a bit of a diss on Elf too, or you get like fairly regular size actors and then like digitally alter them to look tiny. And it's just like none of that has ever worked for me. But like I think because like we'll get to it this year. We're going to talk about the Claymation Christmas special.
Yeah.
And there's a segment in that where you go through Santa's workshop, and the way that the claymation elves look, I feel like I'm like, that's how I want to imagine elves look. And the only way that's achievable is that it's like, how do I word this? I feel like elves are supposed to live in this magical world where they live for an eternity and that they're eternally young. So like
it's
seeing
it's the Peter Pan and the Lost Boys thing.
It's the Peter Pan and Lost Boys thing.
Want.
So like having that like forever youthfulness where it's not like, I don't want to look at an elf that's all like fucking wrinkly skinned. Like, that there's just like the horrors of being alive for 5,000 years.
Shots at elf today.
Yeah. but like, you know, like you look at it, it's like, oh my God, that poor person's been alive for 500 years and they're just begging for death.
They're
at
like,
this
yeah,
point.
we know.
It's like, we're
aware.
But like, I didn't write a ton of notes for this because this was one of those movies where I put it on. I'm like, oh, I've mostly got this thing on lock. Like I have this movie fairly memorized, even though, Dylan, has this always been for like eternity a yearly watch for you?
Oh, yeah, easily. This is one of those movies that, just like you said, I would find on in the background, especially when I was a kid, where it would just play over and over again. I wore that VHS out, like during the Christmas season and not during the Christmas season. I was that Charlie, like where Charlie's playing with the Alvin and the Chipmunks, and he's got the reindeer on the damn the bed, and it's probably like February in that scene. I'm like, hell yeah, let's fucking watch Santa Claus.
Well, so I, from 94 to probably 2000, I was all in on Santa Claus. Then I think there was like a solid 15 to maybe even 20-year break where I didn't watch it. And I don't really have any reason why. I think I just got really invested in like the newer movies and the very old movies.
Yeah.
And like, this kind of
Santa Claus 1, I want to watch him get a wife.
Yeah, like it just kind of like,
I just want to watch that one.
Yeah, like it just kind of like fell on well, I had never even seen the sequels. Like it had just,
I figured you had.
Yeah, like it had just like fallen on the back burner. I didn't watch the sequels until the pandemic. Like
That's
Christmas,
wild.
Christmas,
not even the second one.
No, like Christmas in the pandemic. Dude. I was like, all right, let's watch all 3 Santa Claus.
So
movies.
You got to remember, Santa Claus 2 came out in 2002. So I was 10 at that point.
What
I was
a
2
long
when this,
wait! An 8-year gap between movies is wild.
So, and you can tell as well. I mean, by that point, we had HD and shit like that. Or at least it was beginning. Things were getting clearer. It's a wildly different shot movie than the first one.
Listen, the robotic Santa Claus is horrific.
Horrifying.
We should do that as an October pick, because that is like nightmare fuel.
Is like, in a way, I am well aware that the first one's way better than the second one. But in a way, I am almost just as nostalgic for things in the second one than I am in the first one.
Well, it makes sense though, right? Because like the second one scratches this itch for people like us that check Vinegar Syndrome's Christmas sale every year.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's so weird.
Yeah.
And then like part 3, it's like they took that weirdness but tried to make it as G-rated as humanly possible, and
Yeah.
it just is insufferable. Like
you can almost, it's so funny because of the line, like we're getting the Disney Channel now. You can kind of watch the Santa Claus movies, and also it's the same thing that's happening to the Disney Channel at that
Yes.
moment. Like it's really weird.
It's
You can
really,
watch
really
that
strange.
happen.
Let's talk about, because I don't think we need to walk through the plot of this. I think if anyone's listening to Christmas 365, they know this. So let's
There's
talk
a movie
about,
called The Santa Claus starring Tim Allen.
yeah.
What the hell?
When did that happen? Let's do things that worked for us, things that didn't work for us, and maybe
Yeah, we
things
can
that
do
we
that.
have a beef with.
Okay.
And let's end positively. We'll end with the
Okay.
things that work for us. So let's start
Okay.
with things that didn't work for us this time
Yeah.
around. And I had one big one that I was like, I don't think this works for me anymore.
Okay, go
Is-
for it.
It's such a small part. I don't love the like Jeopardy music while the whole office waits for him to finish eating a pudding.
Dude, I thought we were talking about like huge plot points
No.
that we just don't
No.
understand.
No.
And you're like, I really don't like that 5-second music cue while
It's-
he's finishing up.
It's because like the
dessert
more I think
food.
about it, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to the scene. Like it takes me out, rips me
See,
right
and
out.
I figured it made sense because they're all waiting for him. And
I
isn't
mean,
that,
yeah,
like, what
but
that
why are they
music
waiting
cue
for
is?
it? Let the man eat a pudding and keep the meeting going. It's not that big of a deal.
Eat a pudding? That motherfucker ordered 5 desserts. I want to see if he can finish them. I'm with them.
Fair.
Cue the Jeopardy music.
Fair. The other, I guess this would be the other one that I put in here. So
Yeah.
the whole contention of this movie is that Scott Calvin's ex-wife
Yes.
and her, is it just her boyfriend or is it her new husband?
Her new husband. It's
Her new
Neil.
husband. Okay.
Judge Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold.
He was on my
They
Christmas cards one year.
they are very upset that Scott is pretending, in their mind, pretending to be Santa to get closer with his son.
Yeah,
But,
and
like-
that's gonna leave me to some beef as well.
Well, so the biggest moment that I have here is like we get into this whole thing where Scott is desperately trying to prove that this is real. And all logic falls out the window when we see the scene where he shaves his beard and it immediately grows fully back in. Just do that for Judge Reinhold and your ex-wife and be like, look, I'm not fucking joking here. Like, watch. And like walk out with the clean-shaved face and the beard pops back in. I know I'd certainly be like, okay, something supernatural's happening here. And I now believe my friend Scott. And
Well,
I need to
mean,
figure out how to
you're
deal with
not
this.
Already sold on the fact that like this guy gained a massive amount of weight.
You're
in
already
a
banking
day.
in. Yeah, you're already banking in on he somehow put on easily 200 more pounds than he was prior to like.
Now, I also let's not like put none of the blame on Scott. Calvin
Scott
here.
sucks. Like he's
Because-
a tough character to love in this
Yeah,
this movie.
especially we'll talk about the beginning where he is just a complete asshole. But when he's going to the judge and trying to keep custody of Charlie, he's wearing red and green. Like,
Yeah.
why? You're trying to convince them that you're not adding to your child's delusions, and he's one like Santa Claus on his tie away from just being the Christmas guy.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man?
And that's coming from two Christmas guys. Like,
Yeah, like you could have dressed normal for this. What I'm assuming was a court case happening in February.
yeah,
Like,
this
I don't know why.
very important court case.
Yes, the one thing you have to do is not bring up Santa Claus, and you can't get rid of the beard or your chubbiness. So maybe like wear some blues and golds or something.
Yeah. Did the elves
Like
also
anything-
secretly come into your house and burn all of your other clothing?
I mean, it's insane. And the next scene, he's literally also wearing red. He's trying to convince. That's my beef with it. Is I feel like it didn't lean enough into Scott either trying to convince Charlie that he's not Santa or trying to convince other people that he is Santa.
Yeah.
I feel like he needed to pick a side because right now there is a good 20 minutes where I'm kind of just confused on what he's trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I know we're dissecting the Santa Claus from 1994, which is wild, but it just doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you trying to prove? Because if you are trying to prove that you're Santa, you don't even have to do the beard thing. Come to my house. I just had 1 billion fucking letters delivered to me, and I didn't do this. Like,
Yeah.
who's doing this?
Yeah, I didn't ask for any of this. And yet here it is.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
We're making an ad.
Napping ad.
I hear that Gary Sinise is free.
Oh, okay, great.
He hasn't worked since 2020.
So, what would be the script that we would have Gary Sinise say for the Napping Through Happy Hour podcast?
Listen to this damn show. Damn it.
The Napping Through Happy Hour podcast brought to you by Geekscape.
Real life, real drama, real time.
I'm Gary Sinise.
That's the ad.
the ad.
That's the ad. That's the ad.
Now, we don't know what happened before their divorce, because if I know anything, it's that Scott Calvin, huge prick throughout this entire movie, honestly. And at the beginning, when he just rips the microphone out of his partner's hand and then lies about the traffic and everything, God, he is just an asshole through and through.
Yeah, just the worst kind of person.
Oh, and do you know how old he was in this movie?
Oh, no.
Plot-wise.
No.
Do you know how old Scott Calvin was supposed to be plot-wise?
No.
There is a point where the policeman goes, "This is Scott Calvin. He doesn't look it, but he's 38.
Wait. So you're
Yes.
telling me Scott Calvin's the same age as me
Yes.
in this? No, he's younger than me in this
Scott
movie.
Calvin, the police officer says, he doesn't look it with the beard, but Scott Calvin, this man, 38-year-old individual, like, I was taken aback. I almost turned it off. It's like, oh my God. But also, Tim Allen has the Hulk Hogan effect, and I don't just mean personality-wise. He's got the Hulk Hogan effect where they have looked 55 years old since they were teenagers, I assume.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, that is accurate for how Tim Allen is. Well, it's like the reverse Steve Martin too. Like it's like the Steve Martin of it all, where Steve Martin has had gray hair and looked old as shit his entire life.
yeah. But like gracefully.
Yes.
Like he still looks younger in the face almost than Tim Allen does, and Hulk Hogan for that matter.
Boy. What about favorite scenes? What about scenes that you still love in this movie? Because I love the soccer game scene. I think that scene is so sweet, where like the line of children just show up to like sit on his lap while he's trying to watch his son play soccer. I think it's so cute. Like that scene like does it for me.
I love that scene. I love when Charlie and Scott first get to the North Pole. I adore Scott's, as much as we were just talking about him being a dick, I adore his sarcastic reactions to everything happening around him. Like when Charlie hands him a snow globe and he just goes, "Huh, yeah, ball," and hands it back to him. I was like, I get it. Like, we're stuck in the North Pole.
Yeah.
We're gonna die here.
The other part that has made me laugh since the first time I've seen this is the entire story arc of Judge Reinhold and this Oscar Mayer wiener whistle.
Hell yeah.
That final scene with him where he finally receives the gift after all these years and he's just blowing into it so excitedly, like, makes me smile and laugh.
It's a weenie whistle.
But here, listen, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go back to something that I have a beef with.
Is it the dog in the back seat? Because
No.
if Santa ever brings me a puppy, I'm going to be really mad.
No, that's not great. But also, like, listen, Bernard, like, love you to
Yeah.
death, buddy. How have you not been able to read this situation that taking Scott's son for a ride on the sleigh is not a good call this Christmas?
Yeah. Yes.
Like, this is going to make things astronomically worse and more difficult for Christmas. Actually,
I mean, that whole part is so stupid.
or Bernard show up and explain the situation to like let's not get the authorities involved in this.
Every single part of this could have been avoided with a simple conversation.
Simple conversation could have fixed this. I'm also going to throw...
Also, Charlie, fuck off, dude. Stop telling people this.
Yeah.
Shut your fucking mouth, man.
Yeah, Bernard needs to, like, show up and be like, listen, kid, you're spreading this out way too much, and if you keep doing that, we're going to have to wipe your memory, and your dad's not Santa Claus anymore.
He's like, I'm about to go to jail, and you're sitting there like, my dad's Santa, and he took me to see the elves, and there was a girl named Judy, who's the same name as our waitress, and she also gave us hot cocoa. And then we flew around. The fucking reindeer was talking to us. Like, shut up.
Yeah, stop talking. I think that's the thing that bothers me about this movie, and it might be because of the casting. Like, I think they casted an actor that's just a little too old to be the character that we're seeing. Like, because when I look at the son, I think, like, that kid's probably 10 or 11-ish.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's acting like a 5-year-old, though. Like,
But he continues to do that. Like, in the sequel, when he's a teenager, he still acts like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
I can't tell my friends that my dad's Santa. Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
God. Charlie's the worst. This movie would be way better if Charlie wasn't in it.
yeah. Also, like, let me just throw this out there.
The haircuts.
Do you know how many very good friends of mine that I know what their dad does for work? Like, zero.
Yeah, like, no, I don't know. I don't care. Nobody cares what my dad does for work. Like, I didn't care when I was in school. I wasn't like that's so weird to me.
Yeah,
I get that you're introducing the kids to careers and stuff, but it's not like I went around as a 7-year-old like, hey man, do you want some fun dip?
Yeah.
Hey, also, what's your dad do for money?
Yeah, who's the breadwinner in your house? Is it your mom or your dad? What do they do? What do they have? A 401k? Does their work offer a pension? Like, I don't fucking care.
Weird. My dad he's like, I'm a toy maker. No, man, my dad's Santa. Bro, like, social interaction skills, man.
Yeah, someone needs to sit down with Charlie. Charlie is the worst part of this movie, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I feel like I keep throwing... I like this movie. I need to stress that. I hate some of the music cues in this. The Sharp Dressed Man for them, like, getting ready to do Christmas. I'm like, could we not find a Christmas song? Could we not do Christmas in Hollis or something? Like, why fucking ZZ Top Sharp Dressed Man beyond the only thing I can assume is Tim Allen being like, we need some masculine music right here.
It is wild that how beloved this movie became, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Remember, I was very young when this came out. No, like, music came out of this. There was no like, oh, that's the song from the Santa Claus. Like, I've never even heard the credit music before.
Yeah, no, I don't think there was like a big single or anything that they were pushing here. Like, it was
like,
just...
I'll Be Home for Christmas had one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, happy holidays, bro.
Yeah, goddamn.
And the Santa Claus doesn't?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I have one other thing I want to talk about with the Santa Claus.
Yeah.
There's this scene.
Dude, I could talk about this movie. I have so much to say. Like, but the problem is like, this could turn into a 90-minute episode of us
that's why I'm trying to be like
Santa
precious
Claus.
with both of our time on this one.
It's okay. Yeah. You reining me in.
So there's a scene in this movie
Yeah.
where Scott burns the Christmas Eve turkey.
Yes.
And then they have to go do Christmas Eve in Denny's. And I've got a sort of a story here. Because to me, I've never had like giant Christmas Eve dinners before. I've gone to Christmas Eve parties where people have like pulled pork that I can throw on a sandwich.
Have you like ever like hosted like a Thanksgiving or whatever?
I've never hosted any of those. I've lived in my parents' house as they've hosted it, and I've helped out in the kitchen, but it's never been my like specific gig. I would love to throw a Christmas Eve get together. You know what I mean? But like working at a church, that's very difficult because like shocker, there's 5 services that I have to do that day. Like it's a pretty big day at a church.
The concept of I feel like we've had this conversation. The concept of a Christmas Eve party sounds good until I think about it, and I'm like, I don't want to be out. I want to be with my family at home.
But see, that's what I loved about my family's Christmas Eve get together was like, because my family all lived within a couple miles of each other, it was just like, hey, family only showing up at this particular relative's house, and they had like some meatballs and some pulled pork and some rolls. And like
we would do something similar.
And you just had like Christmas music playing in the house, and everyone was just kind of like hanging out until like 9 or 10 o'clock, and then everybody dispersed to go home. And now like I can't really do that anymore because I'm working at the church until like 10:30, 11 o'clock. But my story is that there was a year. This is like the saddest Christmas Eve story, but it's also super funny to me. My sisters had both moved out of my parents' house at that point. My brother was living in Florida, and my dad had to work night shift Christmas Eve night. And my mom is in the church band, and I was doing soundboard. So we did Christmas Eve service together. And then at like 9 at night, we're leaving the church to go home. And my mom's like, I don't want to cook dinner. It's 9 at night on Christmas Eve. We should get dinner from somewhere. And we checked, and the only place open was McDonald's. So our Christmas Eve dinner was just just my mom and I sitting at our table eating some drive-through McDonald's. And I remember she looked at me and she's like, it's a pretty sad Christmas Eve dinner. And I said, yeah, but it's one that we'll remember, right? And like that was like almost 10 years ago. I still think of that sad Christmas Eve dinner as a great Christmas Eve memory. So
hell yeah. Those are always the best ones, man. Like sometimes it's not the most extravagant thing. It's the thing that stands out the most. And that stands out to you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great fucking story, actually. I love that.
Something similar happened when I started doing the church services where I was at the church almost all day.
Yeah.
There was this high schooler that would help me with the soundboard stuff. And as a he helps me all year round. So as a thank you, I would buy him dinner on Christmas Eve when we had like a break between 2 of the services.
Yeah.
And it used to be Applebee's. We'd go to Applebee's because there was an Applebee's like a mile down the road from the church. We'd go there, eat, and then come back. Mm-hmm. And I think it was last year. It was like just after COVID stuff where like places were like, hey, guess what? We don't have to stay open all the time anymore. Turns out COVID taught us that. So we like all are excited. We were talking about it all day. We're like, oh my God, we're going to crush some apps at Applebee's.
Oh, no.
And we get in the car and we drive there and it's like lights out. And we're like, all right, well, maybe like the McDonald's is open. We drive down the McDonald's, lights out. We're like, maybe the Barnaby's. We drove all around. The only place that was open was Wawa. So we just went in and got like some hoagies real quick and then just ate them behind the soundboard at the
Bro, you
church.
could have got some gobblers. Fucking
could have.
That's the Christmas spirit, man.
Could have, but didn't. But it was.
That's what Christmas means to me.
What Christmas means to me, my lord. Buddy, I am so excited that the season's here.
Hell yeah, dude!
Like
it's here.
With the first couple episodes, we were still in October when we were recording them, but it is Christmas season in the time that this is being recorded, and we can
the thick of it.
I'm already 3 Christmas things in at this point, and it is November 2nd at 9 a.m. when we're recording this.
It's fantastic, man.
It's great. It's great.
It's awesome.
Actually, the thing I'm making Barb watch right now, I think is something I'm going to make you watch in 2025. I just have to figure out how to do it because it's an 8-part mini series on Netflix, but they're 20-minute episodes. Did you ever watch Dash and Lily on Netflix?
No.
It is like Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, the Christmas special. Like, I feel like you will love it. And I think we're going to do it this year at some point.
Okay.
I will make us watch it.
All right.
Maybe we'll do it as a 2-parter. We'll do like 4 episodes, part 1, the other 4 episodes,
All
part
right.
2 or something. But
Well, like I'll start watching it and then I'll be like, all right, we'll take a 2-parter.
Yeah.
Or if I'm like, I'm gonna fly through this.
yeah, I mean, they're all 20-minute episodes. So like the whole thing is a 4-hour dedication total.
I mean, we
but-
did start Sitcom November, as I like to call
Yeah.
it, where I just watch a random one.
Is that when you start one, get through a season and a half, and then be like,
Yeah.
I can't wait to finish this, and then move on and never touch it again? Well,
Yeah, I mean that happens sometimes, but this time around it's New Girl. We're gonna get through it.
oh yeah, no, that's only 7 or 8 seasons long. You should be fine.
Yeah, I mean versus the 30-season series that I always watch through. So
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Dylan,
yeah.
Merry Christmas, buddy.
Oh man, Merry Christmas.
Oh, whoa, now we won't stop till the big ball drops on New Year's. Happy holly, have a great holly, have a merry happy holiday.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.